At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about what you've done with those accomplishments. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back. Denzel Washington. Welcome to Inspire Vision. Our sole purpose is to elevate the lives of others and to inspire you to do the same.
Matina, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dr. Doug. It's absolutely a pleasure of sharing this conversation in this space with you.
Well, I'm excited. So, where are you living now?
I am in Canada, near Toronto.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Cool. I'm going international. Well, and I'm in Thailand. Yeah, I'm in Thailand. So it's 6:30 in the morning what is it? 8:40 in the morning for you?
Yes.
And 7:40 in the evening for me.
Completely different time zones. You've already lived the day.
I know, I have. So I know you have an interesting story, and a lot of what you're doing now, it appears as a result of some of the discoveries that you've made personally with what you've gone through. So I'd love for you to share with the audience kind of who you are and what's the motivation and what's the story behind Matina Singh?
Oh, wow. I love that question. Thank you for asking. I'm going to tell you a story because we can relate to stories as human beings.
Okay.
So for me, I remember this day as it was yesterday, where you're sitting in silence, and I was literally in the dark in my living room, sitting on the couch, absolutely nothing on, and the silent tears were rolling down my eyes. But my mind couldn't comprehend why that was happening. I was safe. My children were safe. We were happy. We were building a life that we wanted. I was having the peace that I desired. Then why am I still crying? What is still that missing piece that my heart is craving right now? And so many times we have these silent moments, these whispers in our lives that for whatever reason we don't give the attention and time to. But in that moment, I could not ignore it anymore. I needed to lean in. I needed to understand what was inside of me that I had not birthed yet, that I was living someone else's agenda almost, where I'm trying to be the best mother and the best employee, but who am I truly? So that journey of me discovering who I am has led me to do the amazing things that I do right now. But it didn't come from day one to day two. It literally took me to understand myself, invest heavily in myself, and really get to a point where I'm like, wow, all of this was living inside of me, and I was breathing through every day. I was carrying that heavy backpack every day without realization, without even thinking that there's a possibility for me to put that down. So as I put it down, and as I have been blessed to help people understand their own emotion, understand their own ability to stand up and show up for themselves, now the game has changed. Now I have changed. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago when I was sitting in that living room. I'm a completely different woman because I'm owning myself more. I'm embodying a part of myself that I hadn't embodied at that time. So it's about an embodiment practice that I help my clients, mostly women, but also sometimes men and children, get to so that they can really live their lives from this wholeness that they already embody.
What do you think is, I mean, for you, what was the cause of that? And for the women that you work with, what seems to be the major cause and reason why they're going through those type of experiences that they need your help?
Mm-hmm. For me, it was divorce.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to say divorce is just this little tag that we have created, but it's beyond that. It's that emotion where I personally was living a void. I was making sure, and this is what I was taught as a little girl, right? Make sure you have a good education, get a good job, find a good partner, get children, get a house, have the cars, have the vacations, and now your magic box is complete. There's nothing else you could ever desire because you have it all. But these are all external things. So for me, filling all of these boxes, trying to be this perfect person, but having this void inside of me was literally because I was filling it with all external things without any comprehension of my internal mind map.
So the cause wasn't the divorce, but the awareness that came probably sounds like it was because of the divorce. And is that
Awareness, it's very interesting how women work.
okay? Please explain. I'd love to know.
When I look at my own marriage, I knew really early on it wasn't what I really wanted. But I kept doing the things. I kept putting a smile on my face. I kept showing up. I kept doing what I thought was the right thing. Not until a year and a half later, after me stepping out of that marriage, did I have enough clarity to understand that I was fulfilling external things, but I was leaving myself empty. As a woman, we're literally taught to make sure the house is in order, work is in order, children are in order. So we are very pushed outside of our own internal frame and making sure everyone else is taken care of, everything else is taken care of. And then when you have the time, go attend to yourself. But what do we do as women then? We go for the haircut, we go for the spa day, we go for vacation. We numb our mind so that we can tell ourselves that we have it all.
So what's really happening, if I'm hearing you right, is that we're really, and we're all doing this, that we all to some degree are living lives that are expected of us, that have been told we have to be. We're kind of imposters, aren't we?
Yes.
We're living as imposters in our life. It's interesting. I do a behavioral analysis, and as I was working to get the program that I wanted to use, one of the main focuses that I wanted was that because most personality test behavior analyses give you just one answer, right? And
Yeah.
I'm looking at that and going, wait a minute, because I had been involved in something previously where we looked at what's that innate personality, what's the social personality, what you should be, and is that how you're acting, and then what's your conscious one. And it's amazing to me that most people live in that social personality. They're literally living the lives that they think are expected of them rather than being true to themselves.
But even that comes from this very innate need of belonging. And I learned this from Tony Robbins. We have two needs as human beings. One is a sense of safety, and the other one is a need for belonging. Because we want to belong to our family, to our friends, to our partner, to our children, we will go to detriment of ourselves to make sure we have this false sense of belonging.
So how on earth do we come in? I know you've got the phrase soul scene method. And so I know you're going to get into this whole concept of the soul and that inner light. So how does someone break away? Because quite frankly, I think most people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all of a sudden, like you did, all of a sudden have that one moment of clarity and awareness, and then it becomes a years of process of transformation and so forth. But how do people overcome that earlier so that they don't go through all of this stuff?
What I love for what's happening right now is we are all being called to listen. And listening is not in the sense of listen to the prime minister or the president or this or the other. It is literally listen to that silent voice inside of yourself. We're seeing a rise in breath work, in meditation, in yoga, in all of these spiritual practices that allow you to find the stillness within. And as I've heard on your podcast earlier as well, like stillness doesn't mean, or meditation doesn't mean we're going to sit still, we're going to be like quiet. No, Like finally your thought's going to be like, oh yes, now we have the time to make her aware or make him aware of all the things that we have been thinking. And we know by research already that 80%, minimum 80% what our minds think is negative, is fear-based. That very little 20% that is positive or that could be evoking you to try something new, do something better, show up at an event alone. There are very little people who would have the courage to show up at an event alone. They want to belong. They don't want to be that little person on the side like, I don't know if I can talk with this, but no, go put yourself in places where you're like, I think I like this. Great. Go try it out.
So how do people, it's interesting, a lot of people come up from different religions. Some come up with no religion in their lives. You talk about that soul within, you talk about the light within. Some of that can be theological in nature. For others, it's becoming more and more non-theological, but it's just this spirit or whatever that's inside of us. How do people start to realize that they are living a life that isn't theirs? And how do they start, in your opinion, and how did you find that spirit within you, that light within you that allowed you to truly become?
Mm-hmm. I'm never done becoming. And that is a misconception
No.
that I find we hear so often. Like, attend this event and you'll become and you'll be. Like, being means that being fully present in that moment. I tell you, Dr. Doug, I've never been able to be as present as I have been in the last few years. Am I perfect? Hell no. There are many moments where I go subconsciously, I'm like, hold on, this isn't what we signed up for. Stop, assess, feel into, and now go from it. The soul scene method that you slightly touched upon is, for me, it is really allowing the person to stop and reflect. When we can disconnect from our pain, from our stories, from our perspective that we have believed to be the ultimate truth, and we allow ourselves to see a slightly different perspective, only then can we change. But this is all logical, right? The work that I do with my clients is not logical. It is emotional.
So I have a question for you, and again, it's a personal one, so you can say no if you don't want to answer this. But and hey, I've experienced this too, so I'm the first one to say I've experienced this. So when you got married, you mentioned that you knew almost from the beginning that it really wasn't right, but you did it because that's what you're supposed to do. What is it that, because we have such a high divorce rate, and I know that people experience the same thing. For me, I realized that I was kind of marrying my mother. And guess
Mhm.
what? That's not who I should be married to. And we tend to put that energy out that attracts those people. And yet that energy that we're putting out is a false energy, isn't it? Because it's something that was embedded within us by external sources.
So, what is false? I heard this beautiful story, right? And I'm going to answer the personal question. I have no problem sharing this.
Okay.
I heard this beautiful story where a man has a son, and his son was playing in the field on the farm, and he broke his leg. And his neighbor came by and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Your son broke his leg. It's so horrible. What happened to him?" And the neighbor's like, "You know what? It just is. It just is." And he's like, "What do you mean by that?" "No, it just is. This is what it is. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing good. It is just what it is." And he lived by this mind frame. Nothing is good. Nothing is bad. It just is. So then 2 or 3 weeks later, they were searching men for army, and they could not take him because he had broken his leg. Same neighbor comes by again. "Oh, how good that your son couldn't go. He doesn't have to do this," and all of it. Again, the same answer. It just is. We will never know the bigger picture, just as I did not know my bigger picture. I come from an Indian family, from a Sikh religion. And I was really brought up in a very strict way. Even though I grew up in Europe, I was very brought up in a strict way, as in, you need to marry a sick boy. This is going to be forever. This is it. There's no other option than this is it. And as I got to know my then husband, I was coming from a mind frame like, oh my God, this guy likes me. This is it. I've made it in life. This person likes me. I'm actually being seen. And I'm allowed to be seen now. So this is it. I cannot think any other way. I should absolutely flow with this because this man is showing interest in me. So that on its own is a very wrong perspective to come from and start a marriage from. Now, throughout this experience of my marriage, yes, there was something inside of me that was telling me, and I was numbing that voice because I was brought up with these rules. Now, I believe that my soul chose to come into this family, into this specific religion, into the specific experience of life to grow into the woman that I am today. So there's nothing wrong with him, with that experience, with all of that hardship that I went through, because I was meant to go through it so my soul could have this evolution this lifetime. That is what I choose to believe.
Okay, and I love that because I believe that too. And I think it's so interesting that as we go through those experiences, so many people become victims because it's like, oh, this happened to me, rather than looking at each incident that occurs in our lives, which we could look at from a negative perspective, and realize that, what, with a little bit of gratitude and thought, we can realize, and maybe it takes us a few years to look back, but realize that, what, because of this experience, this is who I am today. And for you, because of those experiences, look at the difference that you're making for these women that are coming to you. And you could have never done that probably if you had not had those experiences. And I think that's the case for all of us, is that when we get to a certain point where we're really making a difference, and as you said, it never ends. That personal becoming, when I said become, I didn't mean that's an end point. It's something that we constantly do. I mean, I meditate practically every day, and part of that meditation is seeking to become more and more, and it never ends because I never quite reach it, because I realize that, what, this is a journey that we go on. And ultimately, but as you say, who we are becoming is a result of what family we were born into, where we were born, the experiences that we have. And if we can look at that from a standpoint of gratitude and insight rather than the other way around, I think it makes such a difference.
It totally does. But I was not the person at that time when I went through the divorce. It was all about, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Why is God punishing me? All of those things I've said. And in that moment, this is why I love when I'm helping my clients now, where they're like, how can you not be angry at him? I'm like, and drink the poison myself every day? No, thank you. I don't agree with the father of my children, and that is my right. I can have a certain amount of feeling towards the experiences that I have had, emotional abuse, financial, like whatever it was, and I can label it, right? But the label is not the solution. The label is just the human mind explanation of the experience. But my emotion was completely different. Now, even this morning, I was doing this beautiful meditation where I was guided to send blessings to people. And I'm sharing this not out of ego. I'm sharing this out of insight right now with you.
Right.
Where it's like I was literally sharing and sending love to the father of my children based on the part of him that feels unloved. All of us have part of ours in ourselves that feel unloved. So the soul scene means that You are saying yes to seeing those parts of yourself that are feeling unloved.
Okay. And as we feel that, and I think you hit on this, as we feel that unlove, and to some degree, I think it's ego, we will make decisions to feel loved that may not be in our best interest.
Absolutely.
So, how do you overcome that?
Okay, so there was a time earlier this year where I felt highly anxious. And that was an emotion and a snapshot of my life. And in my anxiety, I chose to go outside for a walk and I was searching. I don't want to listen to a meditation. I just want to talk. I want to listen to something that's talking towards my anxiety right now. And I call it, I was literally searching emotional pep talk. I need an emotional pep talk. Like, I need to talk to my emotion right now. And I couldn't find it. And I looked up in anger while the tears were rolling down my eyes. And I looked up like, even in my misery, you're giving me ideas. This is not fair. And it was just so perfect because it allowed me to see that as human beings, we are driven by our emotions, not by logic, by our emotions. So when we sit down and we understand that our emotions are literally an emotion that's flowing through us that wants and desires our attention right now. So if you feel worry, then there is a reason why you're feeling worried. But instead of sitting in that story of the worry, sit in that vibration of the worry. How does worry make me feel right now? Where does my body feel heavy right now? What are the thoughts that are coming up that are making me go, blah? don't want to hear this, don't want to feel this. Because that awareness is the key to allowing it to move out of you. But what do we do as human beings? We suppress, we pretend, we put up a bright face and show up with a big smile and it's like, I'm happy, I'm good. Look at me now. Okay, can I also see the part of you that is vulnerable? That's why I do my own podcast as well, where I'm sharing my day-to-day life, where I'm sharing my own struggles. Even though I will help you move your shadows, move out and see your shadows, move out your shadows, and move out with clarity, it is required for you to feel empowered in that exercise and that you can be like, oh, I can do this on my own. None of my clients will ever tell you that they're dependent on me. That's not how I work. And as I personally don't believe any coach out there should work that way.
No. And isn't it interesting, as we talk about emotions and as you talk about frequency, and what I tell people often is, and I did this particularly when I was working with businesses, look at your outcome right now and tell me what it is that you really want, which is different. And once they say that, I'll go, okay, so I just want you to take one step back and tell me what would have to happen, just one step back, in order for that to be achieved. Okay. All right. What would have to happen one step before that to have that last step happen, and so on and so on and so on, till we get back to the point where it's the beginning and it goes to the emotions and it goes to the frequency. And what I find interesting is, and I don't know if people really understand this, that those emotions create a frequency that if we suppress them, it actually becomes stronger and we end up attracting the very things that we don't want to attract.
And our body will do us a service by stopping us by creating a disease. Now, this is very wrong to say. A lot of people can be like, what do you mean I caused this? Listen, I'm not saying you caused it consciously. I'm just saying that your body loves you enough to make you stop and assess what is really truly turning inside of you right now.
Well, and as you're working with people, do you find that most of them have had some type of moment of clarity like you did as you were sitting there in that room, dark, and looking at it? Most people have some type of moment of clarity in order for them to start really having the courage and the desire to do that inner work
And then they stop themselves.
because they're afraid.
And fear is false evidence appearing real. Because what do we know? We know what we have created in our lives. The way we live our lives, the family we have, the people we have around us, and we are afraid that everything will fall away. Now, in reality, it will. Because you are changing your frequency. And as you change your frequency, the people who are not ready to embrace that frequency will make their way out of it.
Well, and I love how you talk about suppressing emotion, and and there's such a variety of emotions. I know that my children's mother passed away last week, and as I was talking to son number two, he says, "Dad," he says, I was just sitting working out at the gym, and I started crying, and he says, I'm so grateful that I can not suppress my emotions, but actually experience those at the given moment. And I said, you know what? That's a blessing that a lot of people don't have in their lives. And, and there's the emotion of the sadness and loss and so forth. But with all of the emotions that are there, what do you find is people, and we'll get into meditation a little bit more, but as people will go into that process of what we refer to as meditation and start to experience those emotions coming up, and recognizing that these are not the emotions that I want to experience in my life, how do they ultimately allow that to come up and remove it and change it into something different?
First of all, my condolences. Grief is always a very heavy topic.
Yeah.
It is something that goes beyond logic. We can go fine for a week and then have a very heavy week after. I find, even though I haven't experienced grief very personally close upon myself yet, I know I will at one point. Haven't yet. From a logical perspective, I can say the soul always lives on. It's always in and around our energetic field as a spirit that will guide us, support us beyond the logic of our mind. Having said that, I actually became an emotion code practitioner just because I wanted to understand emotion more. And this is work that was created by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And in his book, he actually explains step by step how you can move those emotions out of you. And it doesn't require you to tell yourself the story again. It only requires you to identify what emotion is stuck in your body. If you want to know what age it got stuck, you can ask that question, and you can move it out of yourself by yourself through literally a hand palm, and go with from the top of your head all around until the bottom of your neck, if you will, at the back. But what happens is we doubt. I did the same. When I did the work for the first time, I'm like, yeah, I felt something, but it's okay. It's whatever. The second time, I did the ancestral one. I felt spirits all around me, and I'm like, okay, I believe you. I hear you. Thank you. Go away now because I don't know what to do with this. And it became my trigger. I'm like, hold on. If I am able to do this work for my children, for my clients, for myself, for my family, for my friends, then I can go beyond the logical mind. See, by the time this episode is going to live, I will have my pep talks out there that will work with your logical mind, that will give you empowered questions that will allow you to feel the emotion And at the end, with the work and the gifts that I have received through my intuition, I will be able to move them out of your energy field. So if you feel like, okay, I'm having this specific emotion come up, look up if that emotion pep talk is there out there yet. If not, send me a message in the DM on Instagram or any other platform, and I will respond to you and I will create that for you. Because I truly feel that there is a power in sitting in that emotion. We can all want to, through meditation, through the logical work that we do, move that emotion out. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to see it. Let it go, let it go, let it go. But the gift that emotion is coming up has a message for you. So let's sit with this emotion so the message can come through. And now, from a deeper level of yourself, you can let it go. But Dr. Doug, this is the hard part.
Well, it is. And, when you were talking about these emotions come up and one of the sayings that I love is that was we resist, persists. And, if we continually fight those emotions and keep pushing them back down because we don't want to experience them, they continue. And like you say, and I love when you talk about pep talk. And what I find interesting is, for me, meditation, from time to time, I come up with these affirmations, I will say, or pep talk, and try to make sure that they're ones that are believable, obviously. But what I know is that literally changes your brain. It changes your neural pathways, and you're able to literally, at some point in time, change those neural pathways of negative emotions to positive ones because you're using, as you refer to, as which I think you're referring to as pep talk.
So for me, pep talk is not the difference that I find with pep talk and meditation is about stilling the mind and allowing that emotion to go out. But what happens often is after the meditation, you're good for a day, and then you're like, oh, it's back again. It didn't work. That's because your mind is not believing what you experienced. To help your mind believe what you experience is to give your mind better questions. So the pep talk is literally about, let's identify your emotion. Let's ask better questions to this emotion. If you feel compelled to journal about it, journal about it. If you don't like journaling, record your voice. Say out loud all the thoughts, all the things, all the answers that you are feeling. Now you have given it voice, either through your hand or through your own voice. And now that you have created and gave yourself the gift of clarity, now we can step into the latter part, which is actually the meditation part, as into the release.
Well, and as you talk about, I am not a good journaler. I hate journaling. But what I have discovered, and I love what you just said there, I happen to be a Mac user. So I use Pages. And I discovered on Pages, and I think this works for Microsoft Word too, that you have a recording capability where it will hear your voice and it will type up what you're saying. And therefore, not only are you able to say it, because I used to say it and then I couldn't remember what I said, but this way, saying it is a way to develop that journaling because now you have it in written form.
Yes, and it's all, today with AI, there's so many tools out there that go beyond Microsoft or even Apple. And you can utilize all of these tools to help you get into that. See, honestly, what I would do sometimes is I would just hit record on my phone and I would just allow all the things that want to come out in the moment to come out. If I feel inspired to, I will go back again and listen to it, or I will transcribe it and read through it. But the energy was not required for you to read back or go back to read it. It was the energy required for you to release it.
Okay. So here's a question that we talked about before we actually started recording. As I mentioned to you, I have some people that I've interviewed, and one of their main focuses on their podcast is working with men that are really struggling with women, and they're in their 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And as you're helping these women to really come to themselves and to be free, do you find that that affects that desire for a relationship with someone else? Or do you find that all of a sudden they become so independent with the women's movement and so forth, and men have their own problems, which would be interesting to talk about? But do you find that that's part of the challenge, or how do you help your clients to truly reach a point of independence and self-love and clarity, mindfulness, all of that, and still want to be part of a relationship that can be wonderful, joyous, full of true love?
I love this question. For men, what they've been taught from generations, ages ago, is they're hunters, they're providers. For women, they're nurturers. So if a man's need is to provide, they need someone to provide too. And if a woman's need is to nurture, they need someone to nurture too. Now, what is happening with all of these movements? And of course, there are extremes always out there. There are always extremes like, no, I can do it on my own. I'm good on my own. And mind you, I've been by myself for 10 years now. It's not the lack of desire of a relationship. It is the lack of clarity that keeps the men and the women away from the unit. So a practice that I do for myself is this is so beautiful. There's so many things out there that will tell you, be specific. What type of men are you calling in? What does this person look like? What are they doing? And all of those things. These are all external things. The way that my mentor taught me is like, write down how you want to feel with this person. How does this man or woman make you feel on a day-to-day basis so that you know what frequency, what energy you are calling in? When there's a disagreement, how do you both work through that? And when you have a clarity in that regard, you can create unit, a partnership, a companionship that goes beyond logic. The sad part now is, though, when we decide to go back to a relationship, we are unclear about what we're really truly calling in. Because you can have the perfect looking man or the perfect looking woman in front of you, and you can still say no. Because there's not this emotion that was evoked in you that you're looking for. And I'm not talking about lust or talking about infatuation. That's different.
Right.
There's enough of that in the world either way. I'm talking literally about this soul-to-soul connection that you can create. I know that my man is out there, and he knows that I'm out here. Whenever we will meet, because we will meet, that unit is going to create an experience that my children, myself, himself have desired beyond logic.
Well, and as you look for that man that's going to be supportive, and as he's looking for that woman that's going to be nurturing, do you find that as you're working with women, oftentimes they lose that nurturing, or if you're working with men, they tend to be patriarchal rather than supportive? And I think there's a big difference between that. And
totally.
So do you find that's another challenge that people have, is that, the men want that nurturing and the women want that support, but somewhere along the line, it's not existing in who they are.
For men to come to a relationship where they will allow themselves to be vulnerable enough to really, truly allow a healthy, nurturing woman in, it requires for them to feel good about themselves, to feel good with where they are financially. For a woman, it requires her to feel good about herself and to feel good about how someone else is making them feel. The mismatch happens when we go in extremes. I want a woman who's independent, but who's also very much like taking care of the home, taking care of this, taking care of me, taking care of all of the things that I want her to take care of. That's patriarchy.
Yes.
A woman in her extreme is like, I'm going to showcase to the world that I'm so independent. I can have kids on my own. I can live my life on my own. I can create a career for myself. But deep down inside, I desire a man. But I can't tell myself I desire a man. So therefore, I'm going to find quick fixes, flings, situationships to make myself be like, oh, you see, I'm still wanted. I'm still desired. Or that's not what I'm seeking. So when we come from this energy of filling a gap in our lives that isn't already filled by yourselves, by awareness, by love, by understanding, you're going to come from this extreme. A healthy relationship in my books is a man who is in his divine feminine and divine masculine. He will always be more masculine than feminine because his desire, just because he came and birthed as a man, is to provide. Same for a woman. Our desire is to nurture. In my past relationships, even as a child, I always came to a relationship as a fixer. I will fix this. I will help you fix this, and I can feel good about myself. Well, what happens if Matina doesn't have to fix? There's a void. What do I do then? Who do I be then? How can I add value to you if I don't have to fix you? Well, I add value by just being me. My person will add value by just being him.
And having that supportive attitude and that nurturing attitude. And it's interesting, as you can get that emotional agreement and connection going, it changes a whole relationship.
This is so beautiful because so often women be like, oh, I pay for my own dates. Great. But now you have robbed a man, a healthy man, from the ability to provide. Even when you are in a relationship with a person and everything is going good, you are being nurtured, you are nurturing, you are being supportive, you're supporting, you are being seen, you are being providing, all of those things together. There is a give and take because none of us are going to be 100% every day. And Brene Brown always talks about this. Like when she comes home, she talks to her partner. I'm like, I'm 70%. Oh, it's okay. I'm 100% today. I will make up I'll make up. I'll be there. And when they both come from an energy of, okay, I'm 50-50 or I'm 40-40, that doesn't equal the 100. So what do we do now? We need to come to an agreement. Let's give each other space. Let's give each other the energy and the requirement that we have. We just want to be held. Just hold. Just hold.
Yeah.
That's enough to calm the nervous system down for a woman. When the man wants to be providing for a specific thing for you, just allow. You don't have to showcase to him that you can do it yourself all the time.
Great.
Talk about something you want, and it will be fulfilled by this.
And I think that's such a great insight that you have on that. I think if people would listen to that alone, it would make such a difference in relationships.
And this requires, though, self-awareness from both ends.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Not only self-awareness, but humility and courage and putting that ego aside. And, there's some great books out there about ego and putting that ego aside. And when we can do that and reach that point, all of a sudden things come together. And guess what? We're out of time.
It was a great conversation, though.
I know. So as we finish number one, how do people find you?
They can find me on my website, matinasingh.com, or on any social, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. It's always Matina Singh or Singh Matina.
Okay. And you said that something's coming up that you're working on right now.
By the time this episode will be released, it will be out there. I will have my pep talks for specific emotions out there. You can get one specific emotion meditation. I'm saying meditation. It's not meditation. It's a pep talk.
Right.
Or you can get a bundle to really allow yourself to feel.
Okay, great. And as a final message for the audience, what would that be?
As emotional beings, you will always, always, always be driven by your emotions. It is about you taking time to understand which emotion is driving you. Receive the message of that emotion and allow the emotion to move through you, because it was never meant to be stuck in the first place. Understand yourself, love yourself, give yourself the freedom so that tomorrow is a brand new day. And with the presence and clarity, you can create a better tomorrow.
Wonderful. Matina, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Folks, thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you'll join us again soon. This is Dr. Doug saying namaste.